Thanks for joining us, Dusty Sonnenberg, field leader with Ohio's Country Journal and the Ohio AgNet. We are in Mercer County today for the Ohio Field Leader Roadshow. We are at VanTillburg Farms, and with me, Luke VanTillburg. We are going to talk about all things going on in a very diversified agricultural operation here. Obviously, we focus a lot on the roadshow about conservation and best management practices, but Luke, you guys have a lot of different things going on with VanTillburg Farms. If you will, just give us a quick overview of some of the different entities involved.
Sure. Some of the different entities with VTF, I guess starting off with is we farm 4,200 acres of corn and soybeans, doing a 2/3 corn, 1/3 soybean rotation. We also have an excavation business where we get into early site work, and then we also do work for villages, doing government contracts, installing sewer and water lines, and so we do things like that on the excavation side. And then we have a trucking business that pretty much all the work there is internally with the different entities that we have. We have an ag retail operation, so we're an independent ag retailer. We formed a joint venture with Sunrise Co-op, and so we're a full service ag retailer selling fertilizer, chemicals, and seed to other farmers, as well as grid soil sampling, poultry litter brokerage, cover crops, and things like that. We have a grain elevator, so we're a non-GMO grain elevator. Again, serves ourselves as well as customers as well. All of the non-GMO products from that goes down to the dairy to feed the non-GMO cows down at the dairy operation. And I guess that's kind of the partnership we started 3 years ago with the dairy is MVP Dairy. It's a partnership with McCarty Family Farms from Kansas, and it's a 4,500 head dairy operation just down the road.
Very good. Well, let's start off talking a little bit about the farm and the use of cover crops. You guys have been using cover crops for a number of years. You also sell cover crops and advise other farmers along with your agronomy business. But talk about the cover crops, what you have going in this year, and maybe some of the different things you've seen in that evolution of the process.
Sure. We started into cover crops about 15 years ago. Kind of started dipping our toes in the water. Kind of a gradual process for us. We didn't jump in with both feet where we are now. We're definitely pretty deep in the water now. But we waded our way in slowly. It's definitely a learning curve. Definitely a process and an evolution, both in climbing the learning curve as well as the changing of the soil. So basically, as we kind of made the gradual change as we became more comfortable with the process, that we began to change our systems and our beliefs and how we did things in our operation. And as we started to adapt, we were able to start to do more and more things. And that's really when we started to see basically those gradual changes continue. Every single year, you still see the change and the improvement in the soil health, and the overall characteristics of the soil that really starts to make it a soil more like Mother Nature intended is kind of a lot of times how we look at it with the different species of things growing. So it's not just a monoculture, but different species of things growing and things growing year round. And that's what I mean by how Mother Nature, kind of intended it. That, back to kind of a prairie concept where you have something growing and protecting the soil year round, keeping those organisms in the soil growing, capturing nutrients, absorbing water, and making all those good changes that leads to a healthy soil over time.
So of the cover crops you guys have out this year, what are some of the ones you have involved in the mixes you have, or the most common mix maybe that you guys have planted this year?
Sure. So for our crops going to be the 2022 corn, we'll do roughly 6 different species. And so we do some things that winter kill. We do some things that we have to terminate in the spring, whether it's with chemical application or with a roller crimper. So some of the things we have in the mix are oats and radishes, and a little bit of annual ryegrass, a little bit of cereal rye, a little bit of hairy vetch, a little bit of dwarf Essex rapeseed. So some different things like that. Some clovers. We also get into some clovers as well to help with some nitrogen retention and creation. So different things like that to different species. Each one of them has a different job to do to help improve that soil health and nutrient retention.
We'll talk about a tool you guys came up with to interseed then into corn.
Sure. So probably about 10 years ago, one of the guys in the shop, Larry Pingree, developed a cover crop seeder. Basically, it's a Walker 44 high boy that we put a box on, a seed box on, and then tubes down, basically drop tubes, PVC pipes every 30 inches on a 90-foot boom, so it drops below the canopy. So whether you're putting into soybeans, a growing cash crop of soybeans, the tubes can drop below the canopy and shoot the seed onto the ground. And if you're going into a standing corn crop, it'll drop down between the corn rows and again shoot down below the canopy and get that seed down onto the ground. So it works. The downfall is you still need that. You still need Mother Nature to cooperate to get the rainfall to get a good stand. So seed to soil contact's always still the best option that's out there. You're able to reduce the rates and get a better stand when you guaranteed that seed to soil contact. But yeah, the Walker sprayer basically, and a lot of people see them out there now with Hagies. Hagi kind of developed it's kind of the same concept of the Hagies. We just kind of started it 10 years ago when we were getting into the cover crop. We wanted to find a way to get it done, and so we figured out a way to get it done and developed something before the market was out there for the rest of the growers.
That's that innovation that definitely makes a difference. Well, speaking of innovation, center pivot irrigation, something that you guys have been doing for a while now on the farm. And with that, you've recently added some moisture sensors and just adds a whole nother level of management, but also opportunities to really enhance what you're doing. Talk a little bit about the irrigation system we have here today and also some of those moisture sensors.
Sure. So about 7 years ago is when we first put up our first center pivot, and now we're up to 6 center pivots total. And basically, the first year we ran the center pivot, we kind of flew by the seat of our pants. We kind of went out there and we kicked the dirt around, look at the crops, maybe dig up a shovel full of dirt and say, yeah, it looks like it could rain an inch and it could handle it. And it was just pretty much just a pure guess. And so there's definitely benefits from that first year, definitely benefits to the yield, but we thought there has to be a better way to manage this, and we started looking around and found some soil moisture probes. And so a soil moisture probe, basically it's a 36-inch long probe that you drill down into the ground, and there's a sensor every 4 inches, so you're sensing 4, 8, 12, 16, all the way down to 36 inches deep. And so you get to see where the water level's at different in the root zone, and so it's connected to a cell phone modem, and so basically every 2 hours it takes a reading and sends it out to a web portal really, and it starts to create a chart then of every 2 hours what the soil moisture is at those different levels in the soil. So it allows us to it provides data that we can look at. That then it gives us a lot better idea of how much to make it rain and when to make it rain. So whether Mother Nature makes it rain or we make it rain, we can see it move the needle, so to speak, move that bar graph, and get a lot better idea of how to time and what amounts of future application. So it gives us actionable data that we're able to make good choices with to conserve water, as well as make the right application at the right time with the water resources that we have.
Well, let's talk about the dairy, sort of tied to the irrigation system. Then some of those pivots fed by wells and ponds, others fed by some of the wastewater from the dairy and the runoff water. Tell us a little bit about the dairy, size of dairy. I know a partnership with the McCarty family, but a unique venture that you're using obviously a lot of the products from here on the farm at the dairy because it's non-GMO affiliated with Dannon, and then a whole learning center concept as well.
Yeah, so the dairy was, we started milking the first cow on November 13th, 2018. It's a 4,500 head dairy facility. 100% of our milk goes to Dannon and Minster, so we have a nice partnership with both the McCarty families, with the McCarty family who brings the dairy expertise, as well as Dannon, who obviously has the manufacturing expertise to make the yogurt. So it's a nice partnership. It was a great way for us to add some, basically to get into the value chain, and basically we were taking what we were doing with our growing our crops in a sustainable manner, and basically add some value. So instead of just growing commodity corn and soybeans, kind of get into a niche market there. And so basically that's what we did, formed the partnership, and it has been a great partnership from the get-go. Things are working out really well.
And then a learning center concept, something maybe diversified from not just your traditional production, but an opportunity to educate the public.
Sure. So as we were getting ready to build the dairy, had to go through the permitting process, and a lot of the questions and comments going through there, very, very valid concerns, concerns everybody would have in a situation like that. Concerns that being a neighbor of the dairy myself, a concern that I had, a lot of the same questions that I had. So basically, when those questions and comments came up, we realized that there's definitely an education gap there of people knowing about production agriculture and knowing not just a lack of knowledge not just about grain farming but animal agriculture as well. And so we saw an opportunity to basically reconnect folks to help them learn where their food does come from and help them learn about all the efforts taken by grain farmers and animal farmers as well of what we do to take care of what we're given, basically to be stewards of the land that we're given. And so we developed the Learning Center, so that way it is what we do there is we tell the story of basically from the seed to the cup of yogurt, from the soil to the cup. So basically, our goal is that the folks that go through the Learning Center learn where their food comes from, that they get an idea that food doesn't come from the grocery store, it comes from the soil, it comes from the earth, and it comes from those, and that's what we do to turn it into the food that we consume. So it shows that sustainability side of things, the big recycling center concept side of things of how what we grow and the outputs on the other side with manure and whatnot, how we can regenerate that into food products.
We are touring the state with the Ohio Field Leader Roadshow. We are up in Mercer County today at VanTillburg Farms, taking a look at a whole host of diversified operations here on the farm. Luke, thank you for your time.
Thank you.